He couldn't be prosecuted for it. Sophia thought with interest. Looking at her husband, she thought he had been caught with another woman last night. But in justice, he had to be punished. Do you want me to tell you how everything will end for you if you keep making complaints? David told me, I will divorce you. That's all you'll get. And you will be left without a husband, with 3 children, and you will be a single woman, looking older than you are. Tired of life, and no one needs you, and with 3 children, without a husband, and in poverty. You will spend 2000 the rest of your life. My advice is that you stop being dramatic and continue doing the housework and children that you are good at. And if you behave well, he might forgive you for the rest of your life, Sophia thought. I could hit him now, or commit a grave sin against my soul. And what would I change? I would go to jail, and he would come out of the hospital and enjoy my situation and thank me for getting rid of me so easily. But he would abandon his children, and they would be orphaned with living parents. Ausen couldn't do that yesterday. I couldn't do it because of you. It's all your fault. Why did you come home yesterday if they weren't expecting you there? Weren't they expecting you there? You went to your mother's house for 3 days, and suddenly you come home the next day, and you brought our children with you. You're crazy. David went crazy. Did you ever think that when you weren't there I could be with someone else? Didn't you call and tell them you were coming? You don't think about me, but you should think about the children. Shouldn't you as a mother protect their pure souls from everything dirty? Do you realize what is happening now in their little souls? There was real resentment in David's voice. After they have seen everything that has happened here, and after everything you have done, do you dare to say that you love your children and care about their peace of mind? If you wanted them, you would think about it 100 times. David turned around screaming. It seems he didn't feel guilty for even a second. He trampled his wife in the mud, but she won't shut up now. He will swallow everything, but the revenge will be cruel. What are you staring at? David said, Why are you looking at me? Your lips are trembling. Do you have your fists closed? Do you want to hit me? Come on, hit me. Maybe you'll feel better. A nasty smile spread across David's face. Sophia even shivered. Surprised, she thought. I'll get revenge on you in another way. Call the children, David whispered angrily. The children shook their faces full of fear and incomprehension. They were too young to appreciate the seriousness of the situation. Children, Ausen, what you saw yesterday when you came home with your mother. I don't know what you think, but I want you to know that I love you anyway. And everything that happens between my mother and me has nothing to do with you. You will always be my favorite children. And now go quickly to your room. The children left, leaving the 2 parents facing each other, alone. David looked at his wife with a look of hatred. There was no love left in her, only hatred and contempt. You understand it, he told him. Don't even think about getting divorced. I won't give you a divorce just because you're with me. Because we get divorced, and you become a free and happy woman. And that's probably what you've been dreaming of all these 10 years we've been together. Because you know me, David, I am unstoppable. And if you dare to ask for a divorce, you will face very serious consequences. He didn't understand how he could have lived with such a tyrant for so many years. Sophia entered the room with her children, thinking that it couldn't continue like this. But she couldn't get away from him. He would never let her go and would torture her for a lifetime. The children looked at their mother scared and could not even imagine what was going through her heart. After calming the children, Sophia went to the kitchen. I'm sure something will occur to you, something very simple to primitivize. But what if? Sophia thought and smiled. What is there to think? In the end, everything is obvious. There is nothing to think. As soon as Sophia realized what she had to do, she immediately calmed down, cheered up, and looked at life in a different way. Life seemed interesting and promising again. Suddenly, Sophia felt so good that she even decided to have a little fun and have a good time. Sophia thought, well, now that I know exactly how I'm going to respond to him for his betrayal and thus get revenge for the children, I can afford to have a little fun. Sophia went to the kitchen, turned on music at full volume, and started making pancakes and singing. David heard the floor suddenly become somewhat happy. The situation made him angry because he thought that now his wife should suffer. "Why are you so happy? Why shouldn't I be happy?" Sophia said, "Now we'll eat pancakes and go out with the kids. Do you want to come with us?" It all seemed very suspicious to David. 1 hour ago, his wife was crying, reproaching him for his infidelity. But now she was unrecognizable, just cheerful and happy, making pancakes, going out. "I see you're not mad at me," David said. "Why do you have to get angry?" Sophia interrupted him. "Yes, it's a tragedy. All men cheat. But I love you and I will forgive you." David smiled at his feet, as he thought it would go unpunished. But it turns out that Sophia had a brilliant plan in her head. A week passed after this incident. David had already forgotten this story and lived a carefree and happy life. But suddenly, at 2 a.m., David was woken up by a phone call. "Why do you think your wife is so docile, cheerful, and happy lately?" A woman's voice immediately asked. "'Cause?" David said, scared. "It's simple. She has another man. His name is Pablo, but I can't tell you anything else. Be careful, this is a very serious and powerful man. They are both plotting something against you." "And who am I talking to?" David said. "My name is Maria, and I am Pablo's wife. Sophia wants to steal it from me, and with her money and connections she will divorce you, keep half your fortune and take the children. You will have to pay a huge pension. And you? They don't think about that at all. They are happy, and that's why they only think about themselves. Your wife has even forgotten her own children. We have to be together, David. Today they will see each other again. By the way, David, do you know why Sophia came home a week ago? The day before, he was no longer at his mother's house. Then I was seeing Pablo." "That's a lie," David exclaimed. But the girl on the other end of the phone kept telling him otherwise. "It's the truth," he said, "and it's easy to find out. Ask your mother-in-law what she was doing those days, and you will realize that your wife is cheating on you, and your cheating is nothing more than a good excuse for her to leave you." And Sophia's tears and her words that she would never leave her husband and children was a great performance that David could not understand and accept. What nonsense. David thought and went to see what his wife was doing. "Why do not you sleep?" David asked when he found his wife in the kitchen with a book. Sophia looked at her husband absently, without any emotion. "Oh, it's you," she said, disappointed. "I don't feel like sleeping at all." Sophia left the popular literary novel on the table and approached the window. "What a beautiful night it is tonight," Sophia said thoughtfully, distracting David from his bad thoughts. "The moon and the stars. Everything is as beautiful as the day we met." Sophia went out to the balcony and immediately caught the smell of fresh leaves. He did not notice anything and lived as if in a fog. Only the feeling of revenge moved him, and it alone crumbled his wounded soul. David tried to sleep, but his thoughts got in the way, and then his wife said something similar to Pablo several times while he was sleeping. In the morning, David received a reminder from Maria about the meeting between Sophia and Pablo, wanted to see the meeting with his own eyes. He didn't think his wife needed anyone more than him. "Today I want to go to my mother's house," said Sophia during breakfast. "I'll be back in the afternoon. Do you mind?" David almost choked from such audacity. "I haven't seen her in a long time," Sophia said, hitting David on his enormous back with her small fist until he coughed. "And children?" David asked. "What children?" Sophia didn't understand it at first and looked at David with interest. The two remained silent and looked at each other with interest. Sophia was the first to come to her senses. "Oh yes, children," said Sophia. She sighed heavily and looked at David with tear-filled eyes. "Why do children interfere with their lives whenever a person is happy?" "I don't understand," David said quietly. Sorry. Desperation could be heard in Sophia's voice. "You're right, Osand," Sophia said. "As always, you are right. Of course the children will come with me. How could I forget about them? What kind of mother am I? What is happening to me? I live in the fog. So go with your mother and don't come back and I'll have fun," David said, coming out of the kitchen. David dialed Maria's phone and told her everything. "She's clever, David," Maria said. "She will take the children to her mother's house and go to Pablo's house. You will see." "I'll see it?" David exclaimed. "Of course you will see it. We have an advantage," Maria said. "We know everything about them. They don't know anything about us. At this point, we just have to follow them and do nothing." Try to follow her, and remember that Pablo is a very serious man. I am also a serious man. David started to answer, but heard a short beep. David cursed in disgust because Maria had interrupted the conversation. He dialed his number and asked him what Pablo, his biggest rival, was like. "I'll send you some photos of him to your phone," Maria said. David looked at the phone in horror and didn't understand what he was seeing. Sofia, how old is she? David thought. At around 70, David called Maria and started accusing her that it was a prank call and there was nothing. "It's really very serious," said Maria. "Today you can see it with your own eyes. But he is twice as old as Sofia." David exclaimed, "How can I take this seriously? When your wife and Pablo keep half of your fortune, you will understand how serious it is," said Maria. "Don't be stupid and watch your wife. And be careful." The phone rang briefly. David walked out into the hallway. Sofia and the children were leaving the apartment. First, Sofia went to her mother's house, and in less than 1 hour, she was at her house. He left the entrance without the children. He got into a taxi and headed to the airport. 1 hour later, I flew to Paris. Everything happened so fast that David couldn't do anything. He had been following his wife all that time, Yusind, but when he realized she was about to leave, it was too late. David left the airport building and got into his car. He was about to leave when Pablo passed right in front of his car and caught a glimpse of David. All himself. David would have recognized him from thousands. The man ran after Pablo, but did not find him at the airport. Pablo had disappeared. David searched the entire airport in vain. He called frantically for Maria. She didn't answer. Sofia called David 2 days later. "I'll leave you and we'll get divorced," he said with joy in his voice. "How are you leaving?" David didn't understand it. "You are very brave to say that. After all the times I've told you what you risk." David looked like he was about to explode with rage. "I'm not risking anything, David," Sofia said. "And you won't do anything to me. And as soon as I realized that, it became very easy for me. We will get divorced and the children will stay with me. I will take half of your fortune from you, and you will pay your children a huge pension. You see how easy it is to punish your husband for cheating on you. I'm leaving for another man and I'm pregnant by him. I want to hurt you as much as you hurt me. I will be happy and desirable, and you will be left with nothing. You have exchanged me for a man almost twice your age. I know you've been with him for a long time. I know everything about you." David shouted. I was devastated and had no more arguments. "What difference does it make who I changed you and who I date and who I leave you for?" Sofia said, "Now the important thing is that I leave you. And before the divorce, I decided to travel a little. My mother gave me a lot of money, and this month I'm going to spend it all without you. I will take the children from you," David shouted. Even so, you could hear the joyful surprise in Sofia's voice. "So after the divorce, I will not be a single woman with 3 children." "You are very kind, David. I have to tell Pablo so he can be happy with me. He thinks he's taking me with 3 kids, but it turns out there are no kids. The children stay with their father. Well, I have to go. I will fly further. I'll call you when I get back. If you miss the kids, you can take them away from Mom. Now they are with her. I warned you. See you later, David." David did not miss the children and did not go looking for them. And of course, after the divorce, the children stayed with Sofia. I would have kept one, David thought. But with 3, no way. I'm not as stupid as some people think. But David was lying. He wouldn't have stayed with one because he didn't want to become a single man with a child. Sofia knew David's character very well, and that is why she had no doubt the children would stay with her. As for Pablo, his role was played by a very close acquaintance, and Sofia's mother is called Maria, and she played the role of Pablo's wife when she called David from her phone. 2 years passed, and David found out that Sofia was getting married again. David was very curious to know who the lucky one was. It was not Pablo, and David was very curious to know who it was. 3 years passed. One day, walking alone in the park, David saw Sofia and Pablo together. She didn't even pay attention to the fact that Sofia's mother was walking behind her with a man with a stroller. David only saw Sofia and Pablo. The most striking thing was that Pablo was saying something and Sofia was laughing out loud. They walked past David without even paying attention to him. Pablo again. David thought with horror. I was devastated and broken because I thought I was the only person who needed Sophia. His life went downhill. He worked very hard to pay his support and barely saw his children, who turned their backs on him because of his betrayal. He drank a lot and spent his time in companies with dubious reputations. Finally, after 6 years at this pace, his heart failed him. In the last minutes of his life, he realized that he had done a lot of stupid things and that no one could love him the way Sophia loved him. For Sophia, the story ended very well. She is a happy mother and wife. At David's farewell, he did not utter a word, not a tear. The wounds of her soul still tormented her, but together with David, they embarked on a distant, eternal journey. Thanks for watching this story. I hope you liked it. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new interesting stories. I will also be grateful for the like under this video.